It was a gut punch. I'm sitting at my desk. It's 2016. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, what am I here for? I know we're hearing a lot of mindset, some beautiful spiritual thing. What am I here for? It's actually what my boss asked me. A very tactical moment. He came up to me and his name is Glenn. He's Australian. I'm not even going to try and do his accent, but he called me mate because that's what most Australians do. And he said, "Oh, it's so good to see you back here. What are you here for?" It hit me in the gut. Back it up a week. 1 week before that, I was sitting at NYU Langone, my wife, and our 2-hour-old daughter. And 1 week later, I was in this office. You know why? Because I was so important. They needed me. The revenue had to be generated. I was in sales. I had to be there. They needed me. I replaced the CEO in the sales process, which is a whole very challenging thing to do. We can talk about over drinks. And I was there. And 1 week later, I made the decision to go in knowing that my wife was struggling and I had a 1 week old. Why am I here? Great question. Great question, Glenn. Well, the moral of the story is I made all the changes I needed to right then, and here we are today, so it's all good. So that's what I have for you. No, because you all know that is not how our personal path and our journey ever goes. And as they say, for those who are spiritual, God gives us the lessons over and over again until we learn them. So for 2 more years, I operated the exact same way. Self-important, need to do it right, need to make the money, need to be the person that's liked, and all those things. And I finally ran into it where I said, I remember talking to my buddy Andrew over a beer, and I'm like, dude, my wife is great. Our daughter is great. We live in New York City, the capital of the world. It's my personal opinion, and I think Eugene might agree. I love her life, but there's a gaping hole here, and I don't know what it is. And he said, you ever tried improv? It's just not usually the thing people are gonna suggest to you. I'm like, no. Sounds cool. Improv. So I took an improv class. And I walked into that room with a bunch of other people who had no idea. It was a level 0 improv class. And let me tell you, you want to see an S show, level 0 improv class. I walk into that room and I'm there, and the teacher says, her name is Taryn. At the break, she goes, hey, besides doing improv and speaking, I'm also a coach. And I remember going, what's that? And for those of you who are coaches, you know this is a reaction a lot. I wonder if she can fix me. This might be the thing that can, she can tell me how to do it. Because that's what coaching is, right? We tell people how to do things. Had a conversation with her. Did an exercise with her that was mind-blowing. And I hired her. And now here we are, and that's all that's happened in the last 4 years. So as I hired her, so for those of you who don't work with coaches, hire a coach, and in 4 years you're going to be standing at Mike's thing. That's the moral of it. Why do I actually share that? Because what I'm going to talk to you today are 3 very quite tactical things, conceptual and then how-tos, that I've learned over my development journey as a coach leader, as a speaker, as a podcaster. And like Mike said, I do some stuff, and we're going to talk about that during our time together. And so I'm going to actually teach you 3 things today, that whether you're a coach, a consultant, a brand strategist, podcaster, whether you're a billionaire and you're just here because you love these types of people, I guarantee you can use this because you interact with other humans. Number 1, presence. Mind-blowing, have presence. What does that mean? Well, presence, wow, that's revolutionary, right, Jason? Have more presence and things are going to be better for you. Who here has been fully present throughout the whole day? Raise your hand if you've been fully present throughout the whole day. It's a trick question because I've been sitting in the back watching a lot of you multitask. So I thought instead of talking about presence, because you all know what presence means, I thought I'd run a little experiment. I need a volunteer. And I need whoever's not the volunteer, come on up. And whoever's not the volunteer, if you're willing and you're able to, please stand up. I'm also very competitive, so we're going to play a little game here. All right. So this is perfect because we haven't met.
No, we have not. Nice
Jason?
to meet you. I'm Teresa.
Teresa, nice to meet you. Would you please read that? Actually, this message is for you. What does it say?
Somebody in Nashville, Tennessee loves you.
So nice. Somebody. CVS for $9.99, by the way. Teresa, what I want you to do is hold this up over your head. Yep, hold it up. And I want the rest of you to focus on, I don't know, what do we want to call this bear? Oh, let's call it bear. Hold it up, and I want you to focus on the bear. And only focus on the bear. Only focus on the bear. When you find yourself with another thought in your mind, I want you to sit down, and I'm going to play along too. So Teresa, on the count of 3, and you're not going to play because you got a heavy thing you're holding up there. On the count of 3, we're going to focus only on that bear. Please sit down when you have another thought of any type cross your mind. Everybody ready? 3. 1, 2, 3.
That's what I want to say. Liar, liar.
So who here thinks they were the last person? Who was it? Ria. You're teaching mindfulness and meditation later this afternoon, right? The art of Zen?
Well, I'm on 723 days of meditation.
I'm impressed. I am not, which is why I sat down. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The power of presence. Coactive coaching. It's one of the great coaching schools out there. Didn't happen to be the one I went through. They have 3 levels of listening. Anybody know this model? 3 levels of listening and coaching, or if you're just as humans? Yep. Number 1, you're listening through your filters for your agenda. I worked in sales. That's how I listened for 20 years. That's how I still listen quite a bit, I'm being honest. Who else here listens for their own agenda or how they can fix or how they can somehow provide value to somebody when you're listening to them? And this applies as a parent, as a spouse, here at the mastermind, as a business person. Who listens through level 1? Yeah, it's easy. We're all trained in it. Level 2, listening with no agenda, truly listening. Listening for what the client is actually saying without your filter. For those who are coaches, and I see some nodding, that is a hard thing to do, and it takes a lot of practice because most of us love to be right and love to give our opinions and love to give our advice. And level 3 is listening for what's not being said. The tone, the energy, sometimes the space. I think, Mike, you're a good example of this. You know that spaces like this inspire and create energy outside of what's being set up here. So my first request of you, or first practice, is to have you take a look at where you're listening from. And you can practice this. I'll give you a great place to practice this. It's great in your business. It's also great. Who's a parent here of a child still at home? Or a child who maybe came back home or whatever. Yeah, I know Vince got young kids. I have young kids. Man, it's hard to listen through anything besides level 1 when you're a parent. And I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, so that is... It's a work in progress, but, encourage you to practice amongst each other. What's being said? What am I listening for? And what can I do that's outside of that? So that's number 1, is practice your presence, which leads me to point number 2. Wait. All right. So if you think it's awkward staring at me, it's really awkward standing up here and not saying anything. Who here hates silence? All the rest of you could just sit here in silence for the next 10 minutes, no problem. Mike, I think the term is liar. Maybe a few of you, but come on. Some of you, yes. Wait, it's actually an acronym. Why am I talking? Why am I talking? When you take 30 seconds, and yes, we're going to sit in silence again, write down over the last week, your business, your personal life, it doesn't really matter. It's all blended together, obviously. Why have you been talking? What are some of the reasons for it? And I would encourage you to look past the surface and then maybe into the ego, the psychology. What are you talking for? So write down a few things. I'd love to get a few shares. So let's take 30 seconds on that. All right. Who would be willing to share? What was the reason for them talking in the last week? Who wants to share? Quinn.
Hi.
Quinn. I'm a paper artist, and I've been traveling a lot. Period of not traveling, so that's really exciting for me. And I handled 8 years to Los Angeles just last.
Thanks. So when we talked last night, we got to know each other a little bit. What was your intention as you were speaking to people last night? What was the reason why? What were you looking for?
I'm always looking for connection points.
Yeah. So what do we have in common? Very natural human thing. Talking because I want to build commonality. What do we have in common? Who else? Sheila. Personal growth? Yeah, building a stronger relationship. Excellent. Thanks, Sheila. Let's take one more.
Giving instruction.
Giving instruction. Perfect example. What's the reason you're giving the instruction?
Because they needed it.
How do you know they needed it?
Because they asked for it.
How do you know because they asked for something that's what they actually need?
Because I'm their coach.
I'll send you a Venmo later. This is the perfect setup. No, that's great. That's great. I want to give you some other reasons, and these are for my own life, why I talk. And I also know that this is a super ironic topic. I'm up here talking to you about why am I talking. Who here likes to talk to be right? Oh, God. It's a terrible habit. You pay for it so many times. Who here in their business likes to be right? Yeah, because people buy us when we're right, to a point. Then they figure out that there's a million other people who do what we do with most of us the same information, and they go, oh, well, maybe I can get right for cheaper, or the right way to do it. Who here communicates or talks in any area of your life because you don't feel heard, and you just want to be heard by somebody? Then, yeah, your therapist over there, me too. We were talking earlier, I was telling him like some of this speech is my own therapy work too. Specifically my mother. Let's take one more. What about anybody here speak to convince because they're afraid it's going to go wrong? Over convincing, over persuading. Welcome to the world of sales. Who here has worked in like corporate sales or is in sales now? Oh, Lisa, Robbie, you're definitely in sales. You're all in sales unless you like are an accountant and don't, but you're still selling ideas. And if you think about it, and this is point number 2, the action item I want you to do here is practice thinking about why am I talking? So for the coaches in the room and people who've worked with coaches, one of the core tenets of coaching is it's actually not about us. It's not about what we have to say. This is a much more powerful tool. Much more powerful tool. And I would assert that that is actually true in sales, as parents, as spouses, and as good humans. Which leads me to point number 3. Improv. What's the core tenet of improv? Yes and is the original one, both and, same thing. Such a cool idea that just really doesn't work in real life at all. I'm a living example of that. Well, it can work, but I'm a living example of that. I'm a yes and person. Yes and, yes and, yes and, yes and. You hit the wall and you go overwhelmed, too much to do, no way to fit it all in, and you end up letting people down. Anybody had that experience? Yes-anding? Yeah. Anybody in the entrepreneurial journey who hasn't gone there, I need to find out who you are and we need to talk. I would like to tell you that I'm a recovering people pleaser, but I'm still just, I think, in the people pleasing phase. I'm originally from Minnesota. It's very how I grew up. And I want to offer to you this concept, and I got this from my friend Jody, and she said to me, she's a great coach, she said to me, Jason, my experience of you, you're a yes and person. You're a yes and person, you're a yes and person. But when you're a no, you're a blank to the no. And I said, you're wrong, that's absolutely not correct. She's right, again, I don't like being told what to do. Another therapeutic issue Vin and I were talking about. So, no and, which to me makes a lot more sense. We all said no to be here this week. I know I personally said no to a lot of things, including a wife at home with 2 young children, which I'll pay for on Saturday in some way, shape, or form, just like some of the other people here. It'll be fine. Well, I'll be listening through level 2 for her. That'll be fine. No and. So what does that actually mean? We're all going to have a lot of no's in our life. can't travel there, can't do this, not going to do business with this person. What would it look like to not shut that down? What's next? I'll give you a real life example from our house. We have a 6-year-old. She also hates being told no, and she has a strong personality. She's loud too. And my wife works in sales. It's weird how she turned out. She likes to ask us for Tootsie Roll Pops at about 7:50, and her bedtime is 8 during school days. Not going to tell you it's always a no, because sometimes there's battles you just don't, some hills you don't want to die on. But usually that's a no. But what we've actually put into practice in our family is no, and if tomorrow morning goes well and we get you to the bus stop and there's not a lot of feistiness, and if anybody remembers what it's like to have a first grader, that's almost a certainty, at least it is in our house, we're actually going to give you something tomorrow, which has made a huge difference. So it's not just a no. So my ask of you all, call to action here, is think about where in your life you're a no. I'm not going to tell you where you might be, because you might be a yes and person all the time, and then you can teach us the laws of quantum physics and how to be everywhere all at once. And be speaking on that along with meditation. And I'd ask you to take a look at where are you a hard no right now, that there's an and behind that. I will tell you personally, this has changed my life, because I'm not afraid to say no quite as much, still pretty afraid, but quite as much, knowing that there's possibility on the other side. Coaches, we're all about no ands, because our clients come to us with, I have a choice to make. A lot of coaching requests are, I have a choice to make. I have a new job, or I'm getting promoted, or I'm leaving, or I'm moving. And it's like, there is actually a binary thing. And people generally get afraid of the no. And it's like the no and what's the possibility on the other side of that. So I'd ask for you to look at that in your relationships, your friendships, your parenting, your business. Point number 4. No, we're only doing 3. That's right. Rule of 3, right, Mike? To leave you, presence. The question I want you to consider, where are you not fully present? Are you fully present here right now? I know definitively that not all of you are fully present right now, and that's okay. Point number 2, why am I talking? What am I actually looking to get out of that conversation? Point number 3, where are you a no? Or where are you a yes and that isn't serving what you're up to? Where are you a no that you can add an and to that and create possibility? Those 3 things, man, I wish I knew. 4 years ago, sitting in that office with my CEO verbally punched me in the gut, and he had no idea what an impact that made on me. But I can tell you, I would not have been in the office that day. Nor would I have thought it was so important that I was there. Because, I was talking to somebody last night. We're all replaceable, unfortunately. Or I think it's actually fortunate. We're all replaceable. We're all amazing people. And if we all go away, there's other people that can do what we do. So be present to what you actually care about. Be intentional with your speaking and your listening. And practice what's the possibility even when it's a no. And I can guarantee you, you're going to have more peace, more ease. And for me, I can factually speak, Mike referred to it, heck of a lot more fun in my business as an entrepreneur, working with even better clients for more money, spending more time doing the things I love, and I am confident that you all will get the same. Thank you.